Hi all, welcome to the show of the GODSTER. This is Frank Samuel, and today we're going to learn something about fear. The question is it a sin to fear? Now, have you ever thought about this? Because fear is the most common human emotions, which we struggle with every day, like fear of losing a job, fear of failure, fear of not being able to clear an examination, fear of relationships, fear of many things. There's so many fears that we struggle with in our everyday life. But the common question over here is it a sin to fear? Because as Christians, we often believe that fear is sinful, and that's because we don't have faith in God about the things that we wanted to happen, and as a reason we tend to fear. So in another terms, it's like not trusting God is why we have fear over the world, or fear over our lives, or anything. So is it a sin to fear? Fear is not a sin. If you ask me, fear is not a sin, but at the same time it is unhealthy. Fear is a human tendency which we cannot stop. It's not a sin, but it is unhealthy. Now, what should we do, or what should we be fearing about? So, should we fear the world? Should we fear for anything in our life? So, what should we be fearing about? So, let's see what the Bible has to say. Now, if you all look into the book of Philippians, chapter 1, verses 27 to 28. It says, "Only let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ, so that whether I come and see you or am absent, I may hear of you that you are standing firm in one spirit with one mind, striving side by side for the faith of the gospel, and not frightened in anything by your opponents. Let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ, and don't be frightened in anything by your opponents, because God is going to take care of that. And that happens only when you have the salvation from God." So the only fear that you should be having is the fear of God. When you have the fear of God, you do good in His manner, and there wouldn't be anything for you to be worrying about. There wouldn't be anything for you to be afraid about because of your faith in Him, and He will guide you and give you all the blessings that's desired for you. But if you're afraid of the world, let me tell this again, if you're afraid of the world, it clearly indicates that you're not a believer. So let's look into the story of Moses. What did Moses do? Like if you see, if you read in the book of Exodus, chapter 4, from 1 to 10, Moses feared when God had appeared to him for the first time. God had appeared to him for the first time, asking him to drive or lead his people, the Israelites, from the land of Egypt to the promised land, which God was going to show. But what did Moses do? He didn't have that confidence in himself, and he had the fear of rejection from the people whom he was asked to lead from the land of Egypt. So what did God do? God has given him an assurance through miraculous signs. God gave him the assurance through miraculous signs, saying that I am with you. And he has also given a physical help or practical help through his brother Aaron, so that he wouldn't be feeling alone. And this is what God did. And if you see in Exodus 3:12, in the book of Exodus chapter 3 verse 12, it says, God responded to Moses' fear. How did he respond? He said to Moses, "Fear not with criticism, judgment, or shame, but with a promise to stay near, and I will be with you." Fear not with criticism, judgment, or shame, but with a promise to stay near, and I will be with you. So here the verse clearly says that if you're closer to God, if you're near to God, if you have the faith in Him, if you have the fear of God, you wouldn't have to fear anything because God is with you. He is going to be with you. So there's nothing to fear about. No criticism, no judgment, no shame, nothing. You have the fear of God in you and you have to forget about the rest. So what happened to Moses? He started fearing God, and you know the rest of the story, how successful he was in bringing the people of Israel from the land of Egypt. He led the people out of the land of Egypt, and that's what God did. God's presence was with him because he was closer to God. Now when you're afraid of something, we cannot stop our fears. We do fear about many things. We cannot stop that. But when you're afraid of something, God is asking you to look unto Him, because the Bible clearly says, fear not, for I am with you. Fear not, for I am with you. So if you're afraid every day, there might be many things that you might fear about. There might be many things that you're afraid about. Fear of so many things, be it at workplace, at school, at homes, at family, in your personal life. There might be many things that you're afraid of, but it's still in your hands. When you get closer to God, there wouldn't be anything for you to fear about, because God has a purpose for you. God has a plan for you. The reason, even if you're alive today, the reason what you are today is only because of God's plan, and He's going to guide you further when you start getting more closer to Him, and you start having the fear of God and faith in Him. So if you're having a fear towards the world 365 days, let me tell this to you. The word fear not is mentioned 365 times in the Bible, which means God doesn't want you to fear about anything in life. Instead, have your faith on Him, turn towards Him, and He shall direct your paths. So saying that, now it's up to you all. If you want to have the fear towards the world or your life, or if you want to live a beautiful life by just having the fear of God, because He's going to take care of the rest. So saying that, I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed, and don't give up on faith.